Hi, I'm Sierra Rossing with ChildcareCRM, and today I'm joined by Francie Dudrey of Procare Solutions to speak with Gina Emch, who is the co-owner of Valley Childcare and Learning Centers. Today we're going to be speaking about her experience with both ChildcareCRM and Procare in regards to how the individual solutions have impacted her business performance and how the two-way integration between these platforms have changed her center's operations. So, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your childcare centers?
Sure. I am Gina Emch. My husband's grandfather started Valley Childcare and Learning Centers in 1967. So we were some of the first centers in the Phoenix area. Now we have 10 schools, and we have really tried to keep the family feel in our centers, and it seems that people really like that about it, and we have just loved it. It's been a wonderful family business that we have all enjoyed.
Yeah, that's amazing. When did you join the organization?
I didn't start working with the company until about 10 years ago, because before that I was home with the kids, but I learned a lot about it just through James, my husband, because he'd come home and talk about the things going on. And I knew as soon as I started seeing that we needed to do some marketing, that we were going to need a program to help us do that. And we knew Chuck Gibbs, and he told us about CRM, and that's how we adopted that. Before that, I was mailing out letters to our potential parents if the directors had remembered to fill out a tour form, and then get it to me so that then I could email or mail a letter to the potential parents. So it was very like old-fashioned to do it that way. And it was like, wow, if we could automate this at all. And then Chuck's program just seemed like a great way to do that. So plus he was great. He let me call him and make suggestions, and the tech support team at CRM is amazing, I think.
That's great to hear. And were you using Procare prior to using ChildcareCRM?
Yes. I think they've been using it probably, it's over 20 years. I'm not exactly sure how many, but at least 20.
Wow. Yeah, I think sometimes people are like, wait a second, software 20 years ago, like what?
Yes. Yes.
Gina, I mean, we work with a lot of childcare centers, as you know, and there are many we talk to that even today use pen and paper for their processes. And then to hear you say you've been doing this for 20 years, would you say that your center was just technologically inclined from the start, or what kind of precipitated that? Because I think that's kind of unique.
Sure. Well, the third generation coming in made that happen. Before that, his grandpa had time cards on the wall, and the parents would clock their children in that way. And then they would go through and manually process the billing on Friday nights. And it just, I mean, my husband was like, there has to be a better way. And when we'd go to conferences, he always talked with Shelly at Procare, the Procare stand. And she kept going, come on, James, we can do this. We can get this set up. And so that's how it started.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Who wants to spend their Friday nights doing time cards?
Exactly. And you know what? He met with hesitation from grandpa and from his father and uncles. They just thought, what's wrong with the yellow pad and the time cards? So so he had to work at it a while.
And how has the integration between Procare and ChildcareCRM impacted your business operations?
Well, the first thing that was amazing was when they could export a child from CRM into Procare. So it for one thing, it helped our directors be more inclined to have a parent fill out our tour form. They all have a tour laptop that they ask a parent to fill out. So they got all that information, and then they could enroll a child very quickly by exporting them into Procare. Even if they had to go back and fill out other information, they could at least get the parent clocked in. And they loved that immediately. But then what I was doing was every day I would print the change of enrollment status form and manually print that out, and then go manually into CRM and change all the statuses from either withdrawn or enrolled. And it just took a lot of time each day. And so when we were able to learn that there was now a way to sync that each day, it has saved so much time. So much. It's just been amazing.
Yeah. Was there anything prior to the integration that you were kind of hoping to accomplish?
Well, we knew we wanted to do that because we knew we could export, but I kept saying, when is two-way going to come? And I would talk to Shelly about it. I would talk to Chuck about it. And I kept saying, it's coming. We just don't have it yet. And so right away then, I can't remember who I worked with exactly at CRM that asked me to help like test it and get it going to make sure the sync worked before they launched it. I was like, absolutely, I will try this because I have been a big squeaky wheel. So I am glad to help get this to come to pass. So we have loved it.
And if you didn't have the seamless integration between these platforms, what would you do instead? What would your center look like?
Well, we would still be printing out that report each day and going through each of the 10 schools, going through their enrollment report and making sure it matched, because I wanted to make sure that the problem was if it didn't, a parent that already enrolled might be getting an invitation to come and tour. And it just made us look like we had no idea who was in our school. And so it was very important to me that our status is matched. And so now I love that. When I want to send a email to just all the tours, I know that that's correct. When I want to send to enrolled families, I know that that is also correct.
And how have you been able to use ChildcareCRM to increase enrollment? Particularly, what's your experience been like during the COVID-19 pandemic?
I think the biggest help through the COVID pandemic has been, we have really tried to over communicate with our parents that are already enrolled, to let them know what we're doing to keep the center safe, to let them keep telling them that we are open. Our subsidy program rolled out some, we got to be a center that we were called essential workers. So that they would let doctors, nurses, people that were on the front lines of COVID come into our centers at a lesser rate because they would subsidize it, even if they weren't on our DES system here in Arizona. But so that we were able to broadcast through CRM, let parents know, let anybody that was a new lead or a tour to go on and enroll, because we have this that we can offer. And so without that, it would have been hard to communicate those things. So that has been really good.
I've noticed that, I too am a parent, and I have a child in childcare, and, not being able to go into the center and, talk to my child's teachers face to face, there was certainly some fear there and anxiety.
Right.
And how do I know that you guys are taking the precautions you're supposed to be taking, keep my kid safe so that my kid doesn't come home and bring me a special present. And so it has been incredible. I think parent engagement is perhaps one of the most important things.
It is.
Because, no parent is ever going to say, you're sending me too many pictures of my kids. Like,
right.
It is, I will stop. If I get a notification on my phone from the app, I will stop whatever I'm doing, unless of course I'm recording with you lovely ladies, but, and see, my kid doing whatever, wearing the mask, doing all the things, they talk about washing hands and things like that. And so, it really has, I think it's increased more than I've ever seen it before with my center. And I would imagine it's probably the same for yours.
Yes, it has just felt like we can't communicate enough. And now that we can have texting with CRM, that has been helpful because parents can text questions. And so we kind of know what we should be sending a blast email about then, because if we get consistent questions, let's let everybody know, because probably every parent knows this. Right now, we just finished producing a nice video that shows the temperature checks, the electrostatic cleaning, the floor cleaning, all of those things that we're going to embed now in our CRM to send out to new leads and tours. And I just think that that will be very helpful also.
For sure, for sure. And you manage, mentioned subsidies, and that you've got some special subsidies. So how do you get additional subsidies in addition to those special ones for essential workers, and how do you manage that?
Well, I don't really work in that area, but that is done more on the Procare end, as far as we love that we can track that. As long as the tracking is in there, we can pull a list at any time. My sister-in-law handles that end, and our operations manager, but they love that, because then they can just pull that list. They can communicate with them. They can get the information that they need, and Procare has made that very easy.
Yeah, I've talked to some centers that haven't taken subsidy payments because they don't want to deal with all the paperwork that goes into it.
It's a lot. It is a lot.
It's a lot. And not to say that once you get, software, it takes everything away. There's still some management of it, but you're not spending hours upon hours going through all the paperwork, which I think is super important.
It is. It is. It's been a great feature. We love that about Procare.
And what advice would you give to other childcare owners and operators that are trying to navigate during, this unique time in childcare?
Well, I think, again, just communication with parents. We also have another person at the office that helps me with CRM, and she handles the phone calls that we make, and they're just listed as tasks. They come up automatically with the business rules for whatever status a person is in, and it just helps us to stay connected. It helps that then when she calls, a lot of times after a tour, if she calls, a parent will have questions then that they didn't think of on the tour. So it's just that next contact. And Chuck always said it's at least 5 times, maybe 7 times a parent should be touched, so before they make the decision to enroll. And we have really found that to be true. They even before they'll come in for a tour, sometimes it takes a few touches, a few reminders that, hey, we're here, you expressed interest, we'd love to meet you and show you around our school.
Yeah, I think that's a great, the rule of 7's kind of what I've known it as, and so few childcare owners and operators, maybe take advantage of the ability with ChildcareCRM to automate those follow-ups so that they don't have to spend, hours sending out emails, phone calls, text messages. So it's great to hear that that's working for you all.
It is. And we've had, not a lot of bad things happen in our schools, but we've had a couple times there's been a flood one day, like just a water main got hit in the morning traffic and flooded our school. So we had to get a hold of parents quickly to come pick up their children. And we were able to send an email blast and a text blast. And so 5 minutes after it happened, the parents knew about it. Before, it would have been calling each parent, trying to get a hold of them. And at work, a lot of times they can't answer their phone, but they can see a notification on their phone. So it is great for that too.
Yeah.
So, we were talking about COVID, and I would assume you were operating, or maybe still are operating, at reduced ratios, or are they the same now?
They are the same. It naturally became reduced just because a lot of parents that were working from home now decided to keep their children home. Some of them now, though, that are still working at home are bringing their children back.
I don't know how parents work from home with their children. I tried it for 3 months.
That's what they're saying. They're like, nope, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work for them or me.
No.
So we're noticing that now as this has gone on so long that parents are like, okay, if we're going to keep doing this, then I need to take them back. So it naturally was reduced for a while. I mean, for a long time, we were at 50 or 60% capacity in our schools, where we normally operate at more like the 80 to 85%. So it's starting to climb, starting to increase. But at this point, we haven't had to have it be totally reduced by the state. They haven't mandated that. And we tell parents, you cannot really have a 3-year-old stay socially distanced all day long. They're going to play with a friend. They just are. So if you really want that at this point, at this time, it might be better to have a nanny situation or something like that. But most parents just understand that. They just know that that's not going to be possible.
Oh yeah. I know. It was when we sent my 3-year-old back, I was ready for it,
Yes.
Although I will say, she kept her mask on and she still wears her mask. And I think that keeps her from putting things in her mouth.
Sure.
So that's a bonus.
Yes.
But, there are a lot of places across the country that have state mandated reduced ratios and so forth. But every day we're getting news about more vaccines in arms and things like that. So I anticipate that things will probably ramp up pretty quickly. And there's certainly benefit for centers to have some sort of a CRM in place, because once they can take more people, they got to get the word out. And that's a great way to do it.
It is. It really is. And you can make your emails attractive. You can add a video. There's all kinds of ways to grab attention from people when you do send these out. So it is a great program for that.
Yeah. And how would you describe the integration in your own words to someone who might be interested in using Procare and CRM together?
I would tell them that it's just such a great marriage of products, because to work with any other marketing software that would not sync with Procare, you'd be doing a lot of double work. To not have to re-enter the child's name or the parent's name and address, phone numbers, all that information into Procare and get them enrolled very quickly, saves so much time. And if there's ever a problem with the export, when there've been a few times where they've had a snag or something and it hasn't worked, I get calls from directors right away, because they just love that feature, that they can do that. And now with the childcare forms it works with CRM too, and is going to sync also. It's just they're great products. I really love them.
Awesome. That's great. Francie, do you have any additional questions?
I don't think so. Gina, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
You are very welcome.
You are a ray of sunshine, literally and figuratively. I mean, it's like you've got like this halo around the back of you. It's like, and it's always, for me, it's early in the morning, so it's nice to start my day off with somebody who is kicking butt in this industry and has such a good, positive outlook on things, which I think is very needed these days.
Well, thank you all. I've enjoyed talking with you too.